But also it takes away from me because it never gives me a chance to relax and to enjoy. I always feel like I have to, right, to be in control. And it's really hard to turn that off, right? So in my head, I might want to say, just like, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to manage this situation. Being a strong woman has its positives and it also has its negatives. It's positive in that if we're being completely transparent, African people or people of African descent, Black Americans, have had to be strong in order to survive the transatlantic slave trade, to survive segregation, lynching, Jim Crow laws. Like, we've had to be strong. And so it's a plus to have that as a quality, right? Because it means that when the stuff hits the fan, many of us have been taught to not melt and to endure discomfort and overcome adversity. On the other side, though, I personally, and you all chime in, I think being strong has negatively affected some of my relationships, particularly my marriage and other intimate relationships, in that I think maybe where my spouse would have done this or that, I was very ready to say, no, I'll do this.
There's a meme I saw, and I'm paraphrasing, but it said something like, women want 1950s men, but in 2021, basically like, you want him to be chivalrous and cater to you a certain kind of way, be a provider, but then you don't want to necessarily be submissive as, you know, those type of women then, and constantly harp on your independence.
You know, so it's interesting. There's something you said earlier, where you said you have these women that sitting around this table who you respect and who have shaped and developed your the way you are and the way you do things, right? Because you grew up with all of us. Us in turn didn't have male role models, right? So yeah, we have all of this independence and
female energy,
all of that coming from mommy and that mommy side of the family, but it's in some ways it's not. First of all, it's not effective, like, because three of us could say here that we are divorced women. Some of that is because we want to be in control and we want to take charge, and it's our independence, and no matter what, we're going to get it done. So we don't know how to really take a seat back. I wouldn't use the word submissive, but more like take a seat back and let someone else, or let you know, or even trust. So for me, just personally in my relationships, not being able to trust someone with me, like, that's hard for me. Like, and giving up that kind of vulnerability. That's a good word.
Right. So I don't think it's something that we want to do. I think it's almost like we don't really know how to. I know for me, I don't really know how to actually relax and kind of be that person and kind of like be welcoming in a space where I'm allowing someone to kind of make decisions, right? So that in my marriage was difficult for me, and I think that was part of the reason why it didn't work. Just kind of knowing, okay, sit back and kind of let that person make the decision. Not trusting. Trusting is really something that's huge. Trusting that person enough that they were going to make the right decisions and choices for the family.
And that also comes back to our childhood. Being told, listen, you got to get up and go. And not that it was a bad thing. I'm not saying anything against, you know, me and anything like that. But it didn't help. I mean, it didn't help us in learning how to be vulnerable in relationships. So you, in hand, got to hear us and wanted to be a better man because you watched your sisters and your mother. And when we fed off of each other.
Yeah, we didn't get
as women, we didn't get the opportunity to have the men and
to kind of know what it should look like.
And I married someone like my sisters, which is a struggle for me because to me, she doesn't know how to like just let me lead. She's very independent, she's very strong, which is good, but I do at times wish I had a partner who was a little more submissive. And I think on both sides, right? I think individuals need to know how to be humble and at times close your mouth. And at times, you know, speak up. And that's a tough space.
I'm 51 years old now, right? Y'all hear me say that. Well, I'm in a space where I can be vulnerable with my partner. I have learned how to take a seat back.
Rub me.
Yeah, let me give you some of that, right? And not be so vocal with my words, even though, but it takes practice because it's like a reaction. So let's just give you an example. I had a conversation with him and I was like, okay, I feel like this is what I need from you. I need not to worry about the car at all. I don't want to, if the car breaks down, if the tire gets low, anything that happens with the car, I don't want to do any of that. I want you to take the lead. So I said, honey, listen, the lights is dim in the car, and I think it's making some kind of noise. He was like, it is? I'm like, yeah. So I was like, yeah, I need you to probably take it to, somewhere to see about the lights. So a day went by. The next day went by. And now in my mind, I'm like, okay, don't say nothing. You already mentioned it. Now it's like, all right, day number 3 or 4. All right, forget it. I'm going to the store and I'm about to go get me some headlights and I'm about to try and put them in myself.
You need to have that sort of tenacity and that sort of go-get-it attitude because in the end, we are all selfish creatures. We are all trying to all just survive. So, of course, the other person's going to put themselves
but
above.
what he said was, why you got to be so fast? I was going to do it. I was like, well, when? Well, I was going to do it. You told me to do it. Why didn't you just, let it happen?
But I think that's our personalities in general, right? Because I'm not in a relationship, but even speaking to the person who was going to be looking at my car, I was very impatient on waiting the day to have the person come back and look at the car. So it was like, listen, I wanted it done, and that's part of control. It's the control, not being able to be patient enough and just being like, okay, whatever, I'll figure it out myself.
But there's something to be said about the power that comes from that sort of independence. The fact is that each one of us is running our own businesses. And you need to have a take charge, go get it attitude. Nobody's gonna do the work like you're gonna do it. You need to be able to delegate. You need to have that sort of personality. Anybody who doesn't, they're gonna melt under pressure. They're not gonna get the things done that need to happen. So while I understand that person who said to me, why do I have to be so right? Like I got that question last week. Why do you have to be so I said, in my work environment, that calls for me to be that way. When we go out, then I get to be a different way. I get to let you be But in this environment, you see me here, I have boss.
But this is what I'm saying. I could have just fell back and just let him handle it. And I did it.
Relax.
That's what I'm talking, right.
How many days should you wait before you be like, okay, did you forget what I said? Or, like, what's the time frame of that? Like, how long should one wait?
The male at the table.
I think
Honestly, go ahead now.
Go ahead,
I think it comes, you learn over time the other person. And sometimes we look for immediate gratification. Like, you can have a tantrum and say, this is when I want it done and I want it done now. But if God has given you health, strength, and the ability to move yourself, it's not really their responsibility to do it for you. It's okay for you to do it and not even go to them. You might share, okay, this is what's wrong, but why not you? Why can't you take that place? And that's what I've learned over time. I took a mechanic class in school because I didn't want to get stuck on the highway. I wanted to know the basics. So certain things I'll do on my own. I'll share it with my husband to say, this is what's wrong, but I'll set up the appointment myself. I won't wait on him because there's a lot going on.
Took a mechanics class.
I took an auto
Me
mechanics
and
class.
mommy changed an alternator.
I was there.
Yeah,
Right. I mean,
we got
Y'all changed the alternator?
we changed the alternator in my car.
Right, so that's the thing. It's okay for you.
don't
Don't
think
put those I've learned over time not to put those stipulations on him because I don't want to have to wait. I don't want to have to worry about, okay, is he going to pay for this? No.
But is it
I've
certain
learned-
things though? Is it certain things? Because
Do you
what about
believe
fixing
anybody
things?
has a role? Do you believe people have roles in a relationship?
Absolutely, there's a role.
Okay, do you take out the garbage?
Sometimes, yes.
don't
I'll
wanna
roll
take
those
out the
babies right out. That's no problem. But guess what?
I have when
He'll
I have
wash.
to, when I don't have a man. But if I have a man, me and you sitting right here, I'm doing the cooking. I done went and got the groceries. Why do I have to down take out the garbage?
Well, you assume that, so you're talking really, again, old school. You said you're doing the cooking. This is right. You just,
I'm the nurturer. I'm the one that has the household in order.
so you're
I
coming
handle
from
the
an old
house.
school mindset.
Well, that's what was given to me.
But it can change. It can change because sometimes I think there's too much pressure put on a man that this is what he's obligated to do.
But is it not for a woman?
Yes, it is, but that's what I'm saying. It's okay for you to take the step for your car to handle your
At the end
business.
of the day, that's what I do.
Right.
I'm not saying that I don't. But I think that we all play roles and that it should be already a given. And if I say, this is what I need from you, honey, then honey should, and then honey can say the same to me, babe, this is what I need from you.
He's also gauging the severity of the situation, though, right? It was headlights, not necessarily,
Really big issue.
Not a flat tire.
Not a flat tire, right? So that happened to me the other day. I told Charlotte I was gonna go to Walmart and pick up some things. I said, let me know. She said, hey, the hot water heater just went, it's leaking. I ended up calling Ivan. I'm like, hey, the hot water heater's leaking. How serious is it? He said, you need me to come down now. This is maybe at 7 or 8 o'clock at
Not
night.
really, did he?
I knew that was coming.
Exactly, because I think I called him and said the same
So
thing.
we all use the same
And I have a
contract.
problem also, so we need to all get on Ivan's. Go ahead.
Listen, I shouldn't have said that. We all use the same contractor. But anyway, I said, well, it's not leaking bad. He said, well, I'll be there tomorrow. He came the next day. He fixed the hot water heater. I dealt with it, got rid of the old.
You handled it.
I handled it, but it was the severity. Hot
okay.
water heater is essential.
Yeah.
I still haven't gone to Walmart. She's like, hey, I thought you said you were going to Walmart. I'm gonna get there. Like, we have everything that we need. The refrigerator's full. So sometimes it's about severity.
Right.
Your headlights is not severe.
Right.
And I think
That was
it's
just an
estab-
example.
But it's
I'm just
establishing
saying,
a
that's what
relationship too, right? So you go in knowing what your role will be and what that person's role. I think it's a conversation from the get go. Like, okay, who are you going to be?
I
in
think
this
I just
relationship?
be sometimes too strong. And I'm not trusting him to do things for me. And I have to learn to do that. Like, it's like, I have to tell myself.
never had it.
Like, right. Because that could be not good. Like, you're doing too much.
I guess that's where I come. I mean, God bless the child that got his own, and that's why I go hard for anything. I'll carry it up the stairs, whatever it is, if I have to. I ain't sitting around waiting on nobody.
But it's not because you wanted to, it's because you had to.
It would be nice if I could have, but if I can't, I gotta do what I gotta do.
Now, one of the things, that's how I regret not learning more how to be hands-on, not really knowing, how to fix things. I struggle with that. I pay a lot in contractors and getting things done, and I wish I just knew more.
But again, don't y'all beat Wayne up too bad, because he was not the greatest. But again, look what's at the table. Everybody is beautiful, and he has something to do with that.
And I'm glad you said that because I think everybody's experience is different, but to hear how we were affected, it's also, it hurts to some degree and how we process things, but at the end, God has brought us a long way. But we have to come to a place of being able to forgive our Father. You know what I mean? Some of the memories that I have are a little bit different. I remember him before he died, you know, he wanted to go to church. He took me to that place, to the church. And this wasn't long before he passed away.
He was searching.
Right, he was searching, but he also, it was a very rough life, and a lot of things I compressed, you know, in the back of my mind, because I wanted that fatherly love, you know.
He couldn't give you what he didn't have, though.
He couldn't give me what he didn't have, but he wanted to. Like, I knew he was one that really wanted to protect his children, his family. He did. You know, he didn't know how, and it would mix between what his life was versus what he really wanted for his family. You know, he would get us up in the middle of the night, and it's like, talk to us about, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because he was trying to be protective, but he didn't know.
Thank you for joining us at Lundy Family Dinner.
Right? Some families don't work well together.
Yeah.
Some families don't support each other, and it's because of her.
I drank the whole bottle, and that was the start. I tell my children all the time, listen, you come from a long line of addiction. Don't do it.
You did not tell me you was in therapy. You and I don't talk like that. We have something going on. I don't know what it is, but I'm glad
And you heard it in my voice. You said, come over. And I felt like I just fell in your door.
Tune in next week for another episode of Lundy Family Dinner.